Hey everybody, Dominic Cotroneo here, host of Brewers Extra Innings on 620 WTMJ. I've got you for postgame shows all weekend long as the Brewers begin this 10-game road trip, Houston, Miami, and then the hallowed grounds of Fenway Park. And I'll be live at Fenway as well in a week's time, but today we are using the off day to sit down and do what I've been waiting to do for a few days now, and that is bat tracking. I'm fired up to talk about all of this stuff and break it down for how it pertains to the Brewers and what it means and how we can use it to better analyze what the Brewers hitters and the rest of the league for that matter are doing. Let me start with a few definitions here, and if you haven't seen it already, the Hard 90 series that I want to start doing a little bit more of, making these easier to digest as far as quick little 90-second appetizers, and then into this, the deep dive into understanding it a little bit better altogether. Let's just start with these definitions. You can find those here on the channel or on my social media pages as well as we try to explain these and help everybody understand why this stuff's important. So number one, why do we care? Honestly, these are just sort of ancillary tools that we can use. No single player is great because he has a fast bat speed, or no player is bad because they have a slow bat speed, right? So what I think of it with this stuff, it's just helping explain and tell the story of what makes great hitters great hitters. And we have so many tools from a pitcher's perspective, right? We know fastball velocity, we know spin rates, we know vertical break, we know ride, we know a lot of stuff on the pitching side of things. The bat side of things, the hitter side of things, is not nearly as explored because it's so difficult to do. Mike Petriello and the entire Statcast team at MLB and MLB.com have a great explainer article on how the Hawkeye cameras use all of this data and what they're going to do. And it's going to get better throughout the season with things like attack angle and length of swing and point and exit velocity point and the point where you're making contact. All of that's coming, but this first batch that we got earlier this week really had some interesting stuff that I'm really excited to dive into with you guys today. So I've got 4 topics that I definitely wanted to explore. Number one, we're just going to look at the overall numbers, okay? Just how do the Brewers stack up against the rest of the league, and what did this mean? Number 2, William Contreras. You may have seen him at the top of a few headlines. Obviously, he's the best hitter on the Brewers. Let's see what the bat tracking says about him in particular. Number 3, long swings versus short swings. Bryce Terang is going to be a heavy impact on here. Sal Frelick's going to be a heavy impact on here as well. And then finally, we're going to explore a little bit by count and see what guys are swinging harder, if we're seeing multiple swing speeds based on their count, and, the context of the at-bat. You can't always get your quote-unquote A swing off. So I think this is going to be a fun little exploration as we dive into some brand new stuff here with bat tracking. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, welcome into the bat tracking and the actual leaderboard landing page that you're going to see on Baseball Savant. Let me just go ahead and jump into all of these faces, what all of this means. Before I do that, let's make this a little bit larger to make it easier for everybody to read. What you want to see in these quadrants is good quadrant, okay quadrant, bad quadrant, good quadrant for different reasons. This first quadrant over here, if we look at our X, it's the average bat speed. So the further right you are, the harder you are swinging. And this, the squared up swing, the higher up you are, the more percentage of the time that you are making quality contact squaring up the baseball. So obviously, you want to be tall and you want to be right. No surprise, Juan Soto, one of the best hitters in baseball, is right there. And look at that. We got a Brewer right behind him at William Contreras leading the way there. Now, you may be wondering, well, who the heck is this way up here? Really doesn't swing the bat hard, but has a lot of squared up. Of course, that's Luis Arraez. He's going to be one of the poster childs we talk about when it comes to short versus long. Another guy, an example, there's Bryce Terang for the Brewers. Now you've got the bad category down here, which means you swing low and you don't exactly square up the baseball. So Mike Tauchman with the Cubs, Nick Ahmed with the Giants, Andres Jimenez with the Guardians, Charlie Blackmon, some guys that you may expect down here as far as more contact-oriented, not so much power guys, and Glaber's had a really tough start to his season. Now, finally down here, these are all the guys that swing hard, but maybe can find a way to make more contact and more quality contact for that matter, right? Like I see Jazz Chisholm down here toward the center, but we go way over to the right. Of course, Giancarlo Stanton, nobody swings it harder than him, but it's kind of a bit of a wrecking ball. If he makes contact, look out, but he might miss. Down here at the bottom, Brett Beatty does not make quality contact, but he swings above league average. So that's just your general basis of what we're looking at here. There's Elly De La Cruz. Swings hard, but doesn't make quality contact in the squared up rates. Some guys right along the line. Bobby Witt Jr. You've got guys like Connor Joe, who's been on fire. Alex Kirilloff. Adolis Garcia. So the guys that you would expect are in this upper quadrant. As we scroll down and look at this, is only qualified hitters right now. Average swing speed. This is your competitive swing. So no swords, no bunts, no check swings, no foul ball hesitant or anything like that. Your 90th percentile, your best swings, are the only ones we're grading for your bat speed. And of course, Giancarlo Stanton is leading the way. In context here first, 72 miles an hour is league average. 72. And that's in that article that I referenced earlier in the video. 72 means you are right on league average. Furthermore, a quote-unquote fast swing, which is another metric that we're calculating here with fast swing rate, is greater than or equal to 75 miles an hour minimum to be swinging fast. And that just so happens to be the average swing speed of a home run. So this matters because that was a happy accident, according to Mike Petriello in his article, that, hey, we want to figure out what separates an average swing from a great swing, and maybe 3 miles an hour doesn't sound all that impressive, but as I talked about in the hard 90s and in the article, 1 mile an hour of bat speed equals roughly 6 feet of carry distance on a ball in the air. So 72 versus 75, that's a difference of 18 feet, and that's a difference of a warning track power and a home run power. So that's why we care about this sort of thing. We look at the squared up rate, meaning how often are you supplying at least 80% of the maximum attainable exit velocity. If a pitch is thrown in at 98, this is just an example, this is not the actual formula. If a pitch is thrown in at 98 miles an hour and you hit the ball off the bat at 110 miles an hour, in theory, yes, you have squared up that baseball because you hit it on the barrel and you hit it well. There is an actual metric and formula that Statcast is able to use to say, with the pitch being this fast and the batter's bat speed being this fast, the maximum this player can hit the baseball is X. And we take X, and we need to have at least 80% of your actual exit velocity of that X. And if you have that 80% or greater, that means you have squared up the baseball. So when we look at this rate, the guys who square up the baseball most often, hey, look at that, it's Blake Perkins, Luis Ariz, William Contreras, 47%. All these guys are within percentage points of each other. I'm very surprised to see Blake Perkins right there, given a very average bat speed, below average bat speed for that matter. Luis Ariz, one of the shortest bat speed, slowest bat speeds, but he has also one of the shortest paths in baseball. I'm throwing a million miles an hour at you right now, but this basically means, hey, you're squaring up the baseball, you're doing a good job. Doesn't necessarily mean results all the time, and generally speaking, as we talked about, the faster you swing, the more damage you're going to do. When you combine a squared up ball like this and a fast swing, 75 miles an hour or above, you get what's called a blast. And this is where William Contreras pops in, and we're going to start segueing into talking more about William. William Contreras has the most contacts, balls in play, where he swings at least 75 miles an hour and squares up the baseball. So judging by these numbers, a third of the time when he makes contact, 1/3, the ball is quote-unquote blasted. He is making quality contact. In 1 in 4 of his swings, nearly 24%, he is making extreme, the best of the best quality contact. And look at the names that he is around. So you got Wild Bill, Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Alec Bohm, Yandy Garcia, Giancarlo Stanton. You get the idea. These are the elite hitters of baseball. And we have another way to tell us that William Contreras is an elite hitter in baseball. That's your generic stuff. Let's start diving in specifically to the Brewers. Okay, here are the Brewers, just anyone who has taken at least one swing this season for the crew. Like we mentioned before, top right quadrant is the quadrant you want to be in. You swing fast and you square it up often. William Contreras right there. Gary Sanchez right there. Reese before you went on the IL right there. This center line is basically the average of all of these guys. And furthermore, you've got Joey Wiemer who swings hard down here. Jackson Chourio swings hard, 1 mile an hour on average, higher than league average, and he's 20 years old. Not scoring the ball up that well, which your eye test tells you that as well. Willie right on the line, Yelly right on the line. Oliver Dunn, before he was optioned, averaged the hardest swing speed on the Brewers team. On the other side, we've already briefly touched on Terang. Doesn't swing hard, but he squares up the ball actually just a little bit more often than William Contreras. 35% versus 34%. Sal Frelick right here doesn't swing hard, but is squaring up the ball well. And we already mentioned Blake Perkins, how well he is squaring up the baseball so far this season. As we scroll down and look at the raw data, who swings the fastest on average? That's Oliver Dunn. Now, small, of course, a lot fewer competitive swings, and William Contreras more than double past him, so the sample size would need to shake out. But I imagine 50-50. I've only really seen an A swing from Oliver Dunn, if we're being quite honest, and we can learn more about him a little bit later. But there we got William Contreras. We've already talked about the blast. Christian Yelich averaging above league average. Joey Ortiz having 74 miles an hour of average bat speed. When we just stack it like that, we know Ollie Dunn leads. Then you got William, then you got Ortiz, and then you got Bowers. So these are some of the metrics that teams have had for a while, and now we are able to see as a fan base maybe things that teams are analyzing on their own. Platoons are one thing, but the Brewers figuring that Jake Bowers has untapped power potential because of his bat speed, and look what he's been doing lately, incorporating a toe tap, certainly suggests that the Brewers were onto it with their scouting department as the numbers line up with what they were feeling. On the bottom half of this scale, you see Sal, you see Chris Roller, he's got 3-4 swings. Bryce Terang, yes, it's blue, 67 miles an hour average bat speed, but this is where we're going to go back to the league numbers and we're going to look at swing length. So let's go to qualified hitters. We're going to go to anybody. We're going to update this, and we want to go to the feet in swing length, meaning how quick are you to the baseball. And Bryce Terang is right there in second, just barely less than a foot behind Luis Arraez for fastest pat to the baseball, averaging 6 feet. You got Verdugo. You've got notable contact hitters. Verdugo, Turner, Nicky Lopez, Lamont Wade, late night Lamont. As you've got so many great players here, Freddie Freeman, that are known for being quick to the baseball. And you flip it around, you've got long, big, powerful swings. Height has something to do with this as well, but no surprise, Javi Baez has one of the longest swings in baseball. You've got Willie, you've got Reese, you've got Rowdy, you've got Judge. Larger guys, but some guys who take big swings all the time. But I want to flip things here real quick back to Bryce Terang as we dive into a little bit of his distribution. Bell curve, right? I'm bringing you back to stats class back in high school right now. Terang, as we see his average bat speed, this is all of his swings this season. We see a little bump here, less than 70 miles an hour, and an even shorter bump here, under 65 miles an hour. This is where we're going to get into the counts a little bit later, but it suggests to me that Terang has an A swing here, which is the one just shy of 70 miles an hour, and a B swing, a fight-it-off swing here, just below 65 miles an hour, suggesting that he has multiple approaches. And then we can go ahead and compare this to William Contreras. Obviously, William is above league average, but just like our suspicions told us, he has an A swing here, which is above 75 miles an hour, and a B swing, where maybe with the data that we'll look into with the counts, tell us that he's got different swing speeds for different approaches. So that's just a little taste of what that's got going on. Diving into what Williams specifically has done this season, let's go ahead and change things back to the Brewers to make it a little bit easier to understand. So now we're looking at William Contreras' own Baseball Savant page right now with his bat speed distribution. When we look at the sliders once again, we see that his bat speed is in the 82nd percentile. We already know he's one of the best at hard hit rate and average exit velocity, but this bat speed stuff is giving us a little bit of a better picture of why he's doing it so well. So we're looking at the bat tracking, well above league average, 72 miles an hour, well above league average in fast swing rate, squares up contact. We know all of that already. But right now, I want to take a little deeper dive into Contreras, and maybe just by the count, right? So let's see him with an 0-0 count, with a 1-0 count, 2-0 count, 3-0 count, with, traditional swing fastball counts, okay? So let's go ahead and update this. Remember, his average is 74.3. And in these situations, he's added a mile an hour of average swing rate. So when we say that, okay, he can add 6 more feet of distance in these situations, and yet he still has 23 blasts in these situations in hitter-friendly fastball counts, 0-0, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1. These sort of counts where you would expect to see a fastball, he is still making giant swings. So remember this number, 75. His season average is 74. What if I clear this and go ahead and take a peek at any time he's got 2 strikes on him, how the count changes and how his approach changes? Well, Contreras takes a little bit off of it. So when he's got leverage, he's at 75. On average, he's at 74. And now when he's behind and when he's got 2 strikes on him, he's at 73. And now I want to flip this back to the rest of the league. And I'm going to do qualified hitters only in 2-strike counts. I want to see how that ranks against the rest of the league. Now, again, 2 strikes. Some of these guys are swing-only type guys. We're going to swing as hard as possible no matter the situation. Then we finally see William down here at 73. We see Ortiz and we see Willie. But now I want to look at percentage of squared up, of how often you're squaring up the baseball. Adley Rutschman, the other great catcher in baseball. He doesn't swing nearly as hard as William Contreras does with 2 strikes here. As we scroll down to William, 39%. That's just by natural. But he's, 12 squared up contacts behind Adley, but yet William has 19 blasts with 2 strikes on him, whereas Adley, we have to scroll down, has 13. So 6 more blasts in that regard. He's still a lethal hitter with 2 strikes on him. And some other names you would certainly expect to see. Bobby Witt Jr., Julio Rodriguez, Riley Green, guys that are off to great starts this season. And this is all with 2 strikes. All of that makes perfect sense to me. It matches the eye test of what we've seen from William this year. But what about the rest of the Brewers with 2 strikes? Just looking at the guys with 2 strikes, Joey Ortiz, once again. Jackson Chourio, part of this is because he's seen a lot of 2-strike counts this season, and that's something to monitor for the rest of the year. Now let's clear all of that out, and let's take a look at short and long swings and how this pertains to Bryce Terang and Sal Frelick and what all of this means. Okay, we've talked about the fact that Bryce Terang squares up the baseball very frequently, nearly 40% of the time. He has one of the shortest swings in baseball. Him and Sal Frelick don't swing hard per se, but they have short swings to the baseball. And their percentage of contact squaring up the baseball is still very, very good. Why is this different? And as I talked about in the hard 90s, these players tend to make more contact. I've got the notes right here in front of me here. Swing length comparison. On average, swing length is 7.3 feet. So all of these guys have a shorter swing length. In fact, William is providing all of that power with an average swing length. But guys like Tyler Black, Owen Miller, Sal Frelick, Bryce Terang, shorter than average swing lengths. And generally speaking, I have the numbers here showing up here on the screen, but I'll read it to you. Shorter swings have a better batting average and a better whiff rate. Of course, longer swings, as you would expect, have a better slugging and a better WOBA. But it just depends on what the player is being asked to do. Terang is not being asked to hit home runs. And I know Sal Frelick has hit home runs in back-to-back games. He's not being asked to hit home runs. These guys' job is to make solid, quality contact. And it's no surprise that they're on the shorter end of the swing. Whereas when you look at the Brewers specifically, some of the longer swings, Willie's a talented player. Sometimes he falls into swing and miss tendencies, and his swing length certainly helps you give an idea of that. Reese is one of the biggest dudes on the team. He has a long swing, plenty of power, but you need to have a long swing in order to hit the home run like he hit on Saturday night against the Cardinals, to go down and get his slider below the zone and hit the ball that he hit. And Joey Ortiz, I think, is very interesting here because Joey's been white hot as of late. He hit another home run on Wednesday against the Pirates. He's one of the best at swing speed for the Brewers this season. Grown man strength going down, and similar thought with the Rhys Hoskins swing length, that you go down and get a baseball below the zone, a changeup for Martin Perez, and he hits it over 106 miles an hour, over 400 feet to left field. That is because of your swing length. So it's not a bad thing to have a long swing. It provides power. And Joey Ortiz has been doing a great job of marrying the two in blast. A veteran like Willie, a veteran like William, veteran like Reese, of course, you'd expect those guys to be near the top. But Blake Perkins and Joey Ortiz, you don't expect to be near the top, given their youth and how little they've spent in the big leagues and how early they are in their careers. You get a little excited about that, and then, oh, look at that. Here's that guy, that 20-year-old Jackson Chourio. I really enjoy this stuff. Like I said earlier, this doesn't mean it's the end-all, be-all. Oh, if a player doesn't have this, he's not a good hitter. No. These are just ways that we can help tell the story of what players are doing this season with their offense, because we have so many ways to tell the story on the pitching side. Now we're finding ways to tell the story with the offensive side of things. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I threw a lot at you here. Thank you for watching. Keep it locked all weekend long, as we've got plenty more post-game shows coming for you over on the 620 WTMJ YouTube page. Brewers and Astros. See Haterade maybe this weekend once again, as the Brewers have to face their old friend. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment, leave a like. It helps more than you realize. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. See you next time. Until then, keep on swinging.